Hello, everyone, and welcome to the FBOMB Global Flash Reading. I'm Francine Witte, your host for tonight, zooming in from this fake bookstore in New York City. And we have a wonderful program for you tonight. To start us off, all the way from Barcelona, is our good friend Hugh Behm-Steinberg. Hugh
I
Behm-Steinberg is the author of Animal Children, published by Nomadic Black Lawrence Press. His short story Taylor Swift won the Bartlemy Prize from Gulf Coast, and he has stories forthcoming in brilliant flash fiction, Moon Park Review, After Images, and Roy Fenant. He lives in Barcelona. Hugh Behm-Steinberg.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Francine, for having me. And let's go for this again. So this story is called The Bad Kids. It was published recently in Bull, and here we go. Everybody knows assassins always hang out in the dine-in area of the Acme supermarket, between the bakery and the deli case. It's a good place where nobody bothers anybody. The food is cheap, and all the people who need those sorts of services know just where to find them. Mom's doing her weekly grocery shopping. Noah and his younger brother Lucas are tagging along. Not like either of them have a say, so it's boring. Like the supermarket itself is boring. The assassins must drink a lot of coffee so they don't fall asleep waiting for customers to drop by. Lucas, looking a little distracted, isn't even complaining too loudly about not getting that box of cinnamon toast crunch churros. Can I go hang out in the magazine section? Noah asks. Okay, just keep an eye on your brother, Mom says. So off they go. Noah's in luck. Among all the cosmopolitans and people we're all so proud of, this store happens to have the latest National Geographic, and there's Stonehenge on the cover. He's already deep into an article on horseshoe crabs when he realizes Lucas is missing. You son of a bitch, he mutters under his breath. There's all kinds of stupid kid shit Lucas could have kept himself busy with, because that's what they keep next to the magazines. But no, Lucas has to explore. Noah's just hoping his brother is still in the store, that there's time to grab him, applying a couple of punches in the arm for his transgressions before Mom finds out what a terrible older brother Noah happens to be. Noah's walking quickly, scanning the aisles, keeping one eye out for Mom, who'd noticed someone's missing his younger brother, and another for Lucas, who better not be in the pet store next door if he still wishes to see his ninth birthday. He swings around the deli case when, surprise, surprise, there's Lucas sitting in the dine-in section with one of the assassins. Lucas, seeing his brother, points Noah out, and the assassin waves him over. Noah, your brother just offered me $117.47 to put a hit on you, the assassin says. He says he not only saved up his allowance, but also stole money from your mother's purse for months, just enough so she wouldn't notice. Before I decide whether to take the contract or not, can you explain to me why your little brother wishes you dead? Because he's a prick, Noah says, more annoyed than sensible. You see what I mean, Lucas says. He keeps calling me stupid, and I'm not stupid. And he never lets me play Xbox either. That's because Grandpa got it for me, Noah points out. He got you a bike. I don't see what you have to complain about. And he hits me all the time. Noah, the assassin says. Is that true? It happened so quickly. The assassin is gripping Noah's arm. This guy isn't one of those. Excuse me. This guy isn't one of those wannabe assassins who needs a gun or a bomb or poison to kill people. Everyone knows. Everyone knows it costs a lot of money, but maybe this guy might be willing to snuff a kid like Noah at a discount because it just wouldn't be that hard to do. I'm sorry, Noah wails, but not so loud as to draw the attention of anybody who might get them all in trouble. But he starts it all the time. And it's not like he doesn't hit me either and do all sorts of things to get me in trouble. He never does his share of the chores, and I'm the one who gets yelled at by Mom. Lucas is just about to interrupt, but then Noah decides to really make his case. I have a lot more money saved up than he does. Lucas looks a little green. But Jesus, I'd never hire someone to kill him, even if nobody knew and I'd never get caught. The assassin lets go of Noah's arm. See, Lucas, the assassin says, your older brother loves you. You don't really want me to kill him. You two should work on being better brothers to each other. That's when Mom drops by with a cartload of groceries. Cheryl, the assassin calls out, look who dropped by. What have you two been up to? She says. Why are you in the dine-in section when you said you were going to be in the magazine aisle? And what did I tell you about talking to strangers? Lucas was going to use his allowance money to buy donuts and all sorts of other things not so good for little boys. Noah here was trying to stop him, the assassin says, and I was just trying to give a little moral support. He gives Mom a wink. Noah, Lucas, this is your Uncle Tony, Mom says, pronouncing uncle in such a way as to let them know Tony isn't really an uncle, just another one of the grown-ups in Mom's life after she and Dad broke up. Dad's been out of the picture for a while. Thanks for keeping an eye on the boys. And with that, they head over to the cash registers. Later, after everyone's home, after Noah lets Lucas play Minecraft, Noah says, don't you think it's weird Mom knows one of the assassins? The two of them start listing uncles they don't see anymore, wondering where they went. And they haven't heard from Dad in months, but Mom doesn't seem upset about it. It's kind of clear where at least some of these men went. We need to be better, Noah tells Lucas. Better grades, do the chores without being asked, no more fighting. You've seen Mom snap at us. If we're not careful, we could be having Uncle Tony walk us to school one day. Lucas nods his head like it's the most obvious thing in the world. Be good or else. Noah gives them about a month. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hugh Behm-Steinberg. What time is it there now, Hugh?
It is 1:30.
God bless you.
No, I might
Thank
move
you
over
for,
to the bed.
thank you for being with us here tonight, Hugh Behm-Steinberg. Next, we're going to hear from Kalliopy Paleos, who studied contemporary American poetry at SUNY Brockport. Poetry publications include pieces in Mediterranean Poetry and Gnashing Teeth Press. Her work has also been included in Aragon Magazine for Greek American Arts and Letters, the Ekphrastic Review, Flash Boulevard, the Mackinac Journal of Prose Poetry, Gooseberry Pie, and is also forthcoming in Rawhead. Kalliopy Paleos.
Thank you so much, Francine. I've put two links in the chat. I'm going to read two prose poems from the one in the Mackinac, and they're at the top so you can sort of see them. And here we go. The first one is Humans in the Water Cycle. I wanted to say something to you, and you wanted to say something to me, and you're in a plastic bag, and I'm in a plastic bag, and both of us are rain, and all of us are rain, and the plastic bag of my raindrop is my watertight skin, and your watertight skin has webbed your mouth over, so you can't say anything to me, and I can't say anything to you, and when we roll into the ground, it will be the very plink of the stream of hot water first touching the dry floor of the teacup. And I will blossom open into the dirt, and you shall do the same, and we will roll into one ball together in the ground, and so will everyone else, and we will roar as an ocean sluicing through the soil, and we will rise again like kids going up the cold metal ladder of the diving board, blue and rough, bouncing under our feet. And I won't be able to hold your hand anymore, and you won't be able to hold my hand anymore as we'd planned, but we love all things vertiginous, and tumble forth again without a word. The next piece is just under that. It's called Praise for the Adversary, second of three things I'll be reading. No matter what else I might pretend, you are brilliant as the velvet black fish glancing at me under the green water I saw in my dream last night, staring forward each time I woke and slipped back down into the depths. Your glossy black head, your feathery black hair, faintly undulating, your gills plucking oxygen from the mossy water, eyes moving left and right like rough stones. I have caught you in the net of my lymph, seeing you everywhere as I stare down from my half-waking days. New leaves on the tree I thought was dead, but now gladly see among the living birches. the dog content on my knee, sitting among the pines, smelling twigs at leisure. You are all of this, and my broken ribs too. Or maybe last night in my dream there was no water, but I waded through the grasses carrying bulbs of glass that had been my liver and my kidneys and my lungs, to give them to you, as you neither took nor spurned them, but looked forward toward something else, eyelashes tingling with messages received from abroad. I can hear them crackling a bit now, too. I shall sit beneath you, like a curious rabbit under a great black tree, and I shall watch the sun come and watch the sun go, and I will lie her sweetly now, smelling the lichen and mosses at leisure, until you have finally become you, and I have finally become I, and the tree, the dirt, and the fish swims away freely without a sound. So the next piece is in that other link from Gooseberry Pie. The title is Daddy Says, Stop Looking for Me. This one's a little bit more of a story. Daddy says, stop looking for me. The fat cat Florida attorney with green suspenders and matching bow tie claims to have found no will. But during the one talk we'd ever had, Daddy admitted cutting back on the gin, mumbled something about a trust, and said all he wanted now was quiet, because he'd shouted long and hard enough. No trace of Daddy or me or anyone else hanging in his empty linen suits, nor the wool or the silk, not in the calfskin billfolds or ebony shaving brushes, not in the duffel bag of scuba equipment or monogrammed attaché cases, not even in his watch, which still seems warm, though of course this is impossible. Underneath his framed captain's license, no pictures of Daddy or me or anyone else, not a scrap of my letters or the fountain pen I gave him, but there are a few old tax returns, some carbon copy plane tickets, and, buried deep under everything else, a metal Altoids box. Oh, here's Daddy. I prepare myself for anything, breath suspended like a net to catch the secrets, maybe a lock of hair to trace to Daddy or to me or to anyone else, or one of my baby teeth in a folded up note, a ring I might have won from a candy machine, perhaps a phone number to call with a voice answering tremulously on the other end of the line. And yet really, what would I do if there were a cache of diamonds etched with serial numbers, or a key to some old address of ours? The box opens so easily it almost pops from my fingers, revealing pristine creases of virgin wax paper and pure white rows of refreshing, untouched mints, a message clear as a door of light, closing tight behind me. I wanted to thank Jeff Harvey very much as editor for accepting that to Gooseberry. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kalliopy. Kalliopy Paleos, lovely to have you here tonight. Okay, I wanted to just give a shout out to some of the people here in the Zoom room who aren't reading. Bruce Costello, Kenneth Christ, Maria Scarvell, Bill Merkley, Patricia Bedar, and Audrey Soto, Sandra Barty, Bernice Holtzman, John Park, Sophia Wiseman, Lawrence Lang, the aforementioned Jeff Harvey, who's the editor of Gooseberry Pie, and my beautiful Aunt Miriam, who is not even 100 years old anymore. She's going to be 101 in January. So, yeah. Wanted to give her a special shout out there and thank her for being here with us. And thank all of you for being here with us, because we know that there's so many other things that we could be doing. And it's nice that you took the time to spend it with us. Okay, next, we're going to hear from Nancy Ludmerer. Nancy Ludmerer's stories have appeared in Kenyon Review, North American Review, Best Spiritual Literature, Bish Anthology, Carve, Litro, and Best Small Fictions. Her prize-winning collection, Collateral Damage, 48 Stories from Snake Nation Press 2020 2022, was followed by her novella in Flash, Sarah Copia, A Locked-In Life from WTAW Press 2023, which Nancy presented at London's annual Jewish Book League in March. Learn more at nancyludmerer.com. Nancy Ludmerer.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I'm going to read a story that's my most recent publication. It's in Amsterdam Quarterly. It was published a couple of months ago. This is the first time I'm reading it, and unlike a lot of my micro fictions, which are very short, this is a full flash, so it's like 1,000 words. And with thanks to Brian Monty at Amsterdam Quarterly. Chameleon. 2 people in 1 week said I was a chameleon, and on Monday morning I woke up and really was one. I didn't need a mirror. When I found myself reduced to the size of a Meyer lemon with 360-degree vision and a bumpy greenish physique, I knew. My double bed had been perfect for me and Sandy, the sweet cat who slept with me every night, his body curled into mine. Now that same bed was as immense and forbidding as an iceberg. I worried not only about my transformation, but about my work situation. I finally had a law job that allowed me to pay the rent and then some. I saw from the bedside clock it was 7:30 a.m. I had a court-ordered deposition at 9, and if I didn't show, I would be held in contempt. My partner mentor, who wasn't much of a mentor really, would be furious. I could be fined. 4 months before, when I could no longer pay the rent on my studio apartment, I parlayed my law degree from a low-paying legal aid job to a law clerk position at a prestigious midtown firm. My ex-boyfriend telephoned when he heard. How he heard, I'm not sure, for the sole purpose of berating me. I had abandoned our shared ideals, he said, ignoring that he had abandoned me a year before. You're a chameleon, he continued. You blend in this case, with a lot of careerist, money-grubbing law grads. Adaptability is a good thing, I said. You're turning it into a negative. The truth is, I wasn't all that adaptable. I hadn't adapted well when he left me. I hated living alone, which is how Sandy, a cat made homeless by the hurricane of the same name, came into my life. From the time I was small, whenever we moved from one part of town to another, or from one city to another, my parents said it was my job to make new friends. Do I have to? I asked at 7 and at 10 and at 13, and they would look at me like I was someone else's child. Had they not both departed this world, they would not be surprised to learn I was not making friends at the law firm. I wasn't surprised either. I was a decade older than most of the lawyers in my class, who all seemed to know the same people from NYU or Columbia. I had gone to Brooklyn Law School at night. When I told my therapist I was having a hard time fitting in, she asked, "What are you, a chameleon? You're not expected to simply disappear into the woodwork." She might have been thinking of termites. I know what happened to me happened before. At least in literature, to Gregor Samsa, who turned into a giant bug. At first, that made me feel less alone, but the more I dwelled on our similarities, the more fearful I became. Gregor Samsa perished, freeing his family of the burden his life had become. What would happen to me? I didn't want to die. Sandy was eyeing me hungrily. He could chew me to bits. No one would know. I would simply vanish. My new colleagues barely knew me. Legal aid thought I copped out. My ex wouldn't care. To say I'd be forgotten was an understatement. My client and the judge would be furious at me for missing my court appearance. Soon the case would be reassigned. My mentor would decide he had been right about me all along. My therapist would review her notes. She would bill me for missed visits, eventually resorting to a debt collection service. None of these people would come to my rescue. Instead, I was at the mercy of a cat who was no longer snuggled up next to me, but instead stalking the strange little creature who had invaded his and his mom's bed. Sandy, for a cat, was neither very big nor very small. 12 pounds of muscle encased in soft, pliant, silky fur, mostly white but with orange splotches on his rear and a striped orange and white tail. There was an orange spot between his ears, which he loved to have stroked. If only I could reach out and stroke it now. Sandy's eyes narrowed into dark, broody pits. Without stopping to think, I extended one of my narrow green front feet and touched the orange spot between his ears. He jumped back and hissed. He had never hissed at me before, not at the shelter, not when I put him in the carrier, not when I brought him home. He stared for what seemed like a long time. His green irises glimmered, and he blinked slowly, same as when I was human. Then he ducked his head and moved toward me. I stayed perfectly still. He bent his neck forward for a headbutt. Now I placed both of my skinny front feet on that orange spot between his ears. How to reassure him this was a friendly gesture. He shook me off, but took one of my feet between his paws and began licking it, grooming me thoroughly, methodically, the same way he groomed my human fingers in the past, nails, cuticles, and joints. Gradually, I felt an odd sensation. Slowly, I was expanding. Sandy groomed me and then groomed me some more, all the way back to humanity, back to the flawed human being I was. Sandy recognized I was the creature who had saved him from homelessness, regardless what my outer shell looked like. I was the opposite of a chameleon, whatever that might be called. I was his human mother, no matter how I appeared in the world. I checked the clock by my bedside. There was still time to make it to court. I dressed quickly, filled Sandy's bowl, and left. At the courthouse, I would find my client, defend his deposition, argue my case, win it or lose it. Who needs to make friends? When the day is over, I will return home, to my home and Sandy's. Thank you.
Wonderful, Nancy. That was really wonderful. Thank you so much for being here tonight and reading that wonderful story, Nancy Ludmerer.
Thank you.
Okay, next we're going to hear from Niles Reddick. He's the author of a novel, 4 short fiction collections, and 2 novellas. His work has appeared in more than 500 publications, including the Saturday Evening Post, ranking him among the top 10 most popular new fiction of 2019. Cheap Pop, Flash Fiction Magazine, Citron Review, Midway Journal, Hong Kong Review, and Vestal Review. Niles Reddick.
Thanks, Francine. And Nancy, it's hard to follow that. You're so good at this. I just have 2 little short micro pieces. One is titled Last Date, and I'll read it first. We listened to Floyd Kramer's Slipknot style song on the radio. She slid on the vinyl bench seat closer to me, and I put my right arm around her and steered the Nash with my left. We pulled into the drive-in, got popcorn and Coke, and watched Hitchcock's latest, The Birds. We pretended we were scared when we knew some of the birds were mechanical and likely wouldn't attack the way they did. We married the next week, worked all day, sunk into the second-hand sofa at night, and watched TV because it was free with rabbit ears antenna. Then she got pregnant and we had our first. Life moved faster when we had our second the next year. Our events and outings were all about them, all the way through high school and even college. Now she's cocooned in a blanket, like a newborn baby, her mouth open, and I feed her ice chips, and as they melt in her mouth, drool pools in the corners, and I dab them with a cloth. She swallows, her eyes briefly flutter open, and I know she wants to smile, though her lips don't move. I play Last Date on the Pandora app of my phone. We'd moved from vinyl to 8-track to cassette to CDs to streaming in our life together. And then I see it. Her smile forms just a bit. The lips spread and crack open like ice in a spring thaw. And she squeezes my hand and holds it tight, like she did when the birds attacked, like she did when the oncologist told her it was back and there was nothing else they could do. And the next one is a little more upbeat and whimsical. It's titled The Missing. Margie organized a half a gallon of skim milk, a 12-pack of diet drinks, laundry detergent, paper products, canned items, bread, some fruits and veggies into the hatchback of her Subaru so the items didn't shift or roll. However, when the yellow light turned red, her foot stomped the brake and tires screeched. She heard her groceries shifting, sliding, and bumping, and she thought at least one or two of the items rolled onto the floorboard and under the seats. Damn it, she clenched her teeth, careful not to reveal mouth movements to the grapefruit-headed couple in the Camry next to her, in case they were patients. When she got home, she was even more upset to see the milk had leaked, the 12-pack had smushed the bread, and the tomatoes were bruised. When she got everything inside, she could have sworn she bought 2 cans of green beans, 2 Vidalia onions, and 2 apples, but only one each was bagged. She went back to her car and looked in the trunk, on the floorboard, and underneath the front seats, but couldn't locate the missing, even though her receipt confirmed she'd bought them. Well, at least I'm not completely losing my mind, she said. That night, 3 strange men wooed her in a dream. One was silvery with a green hat. Another was more round with papery skin, a goatee, and a pungent smell. And one who was red-faced and sweet. The last told her he'd keep the doctor away, but they had faded with the morning light through her Venetian blinds. She woke up, put on her blue scrubs and red tennis shoes, packed her lunch, 2-stepped to her Subaru in the driveway and hummed, "We're off to see the wizard." She knew the dentist for whom she worked was smart, but she wasn't referring to him as a wizard. Nor was she referring to the back-to-back patients whose teeth she'd scrape, rinse, polish, and floss, whether real, capped, or veneer. She couldn't help the missing ones. She was simply in a good mood. Nobody wanted a dental hygienist in a bad mood. Next week, she'd ask the grocery clerk, who had a head like a cauliflower, albino white with thick knotted hair. He might recall something about the missing. Since she lived on a tight budget, she hoped for a sale, maybe a buy one, get one free deal. Thank you.
Thank you, Niles. Niles Reddick. Wonderful. Okay, next we're going to hear from Cindy Rosmus. Cindy, sorry, is a no punches Jersey girl who talks. I'm sorry. I'm gonna start over. Cindy Rosmus is a pull no punches Jersey girl who talks like anybody's from West Side Story and everybody from Saturday Night Fever. I like that. She's published 7 collections of short stories and is the editor, art director of the crime fiction webzine Yellow Mama. She's a Gemini, a Christian, and an animal rights advocate. Cindy Rosmus.
Hi, Francine. Hi, guys. And Ken Chris, the publisher of both Yellow Mama and Black Petals, is here tonight. Ken! We love you, man. I'm going to read a story. It's called Shirley Templeville. originally in Black Petals. Now it was a Yellow Mama in the June issue. Okay. What's weird is you don't remember getting here. And where are you anyway? A bar, but not your usual inside of a work boot dump. It's airy and bright, like the sun had just burst through after rain. But not dirty city rain. This rain smells sweet, like it came down from heaven. You creep in, peering around. There's just the bartender and one customer, a chunky girl whose face you can't see. The bartender looks familiar, arms folded, leaning against the register. An older guy, maybe 55, with a rust-colored rug and frizzy gray sideburns, and the silliest grin ever. Harvey, you realize. As you race towards him, the past blasts back to you, sweltering summer nights, sneaking drinks at his bar in pre-casino Atlantic City. His son Artie and you filling each other up under the damp, dark boardwalk. Kids, both of you. If Harvey only knew. He stopped short. That was 30 years ago. How could he look the same? Wait, your back feels ice cold. Didn't Harvey, isn't he dead? When he sees you, his smile widens. Hi, doll, he says, just like way back. Last time you saw Harvey, he was shrunken, dwarf-like, torso devoured by cancer, so he hopped around like a frog. That silly grin ghoulish in that too big head. You were so scared he'd touch you. Before that, you loved his hugs. Now he looked monstrous. Harvey? You're too shocked to say more. He's still grinning, like none of it had happened. His illness and agonizing death, Artie's mysterious drowning. And he was behind the bar concocting exciting new drinks while you and Artie plotted your getaways. The chunky girl is hunched over, sipping what looks like fruit punch. I can't taste the liquor, she grumbles. That voice. How many times did it warn you, ruin your fool's paradise? He used you, it said, then told those fuckers at the bar about you on the pool table. You gasp. Becky! But isn't she? A closed casket, because she had no face left. Her new slime ball had blown it off. Only her ear was recognizable with tiny hoops from top to bottom. Somehow her face is back. Cheeky with that little pug nose, a missing tooth from doing too much blow. Here, she shoves her drink toward you. Tell me there's no booze in there. There's not, Harvey says. What? It's not allowed, Harvey says. There's no liquor in any of these bottles. A dirty trick, you think. Instead of sloe gin or peach schnapps, there's Kool-Aid. Worse, colored water, like on a movie set. Your favorite bartender and drinking buddy in this class act bar with no booze. A barfly's worst nightmare. Well, that sucks, Becky says. As you sink down onto the stool, it dawns on you where you really are. But with no sneering devil. It's not even hot. Very comfortable in here with that sweet after rain smell. There's just no booze. Welcome to Shirley Templeville, Harvey winks. Like Margaritaville, but with no margaritas. Jimmy Buffett, you think foolishly. Where are you? Outside, someone's coming. When Harvey turns his back, you tell Becky, I gotta get out of here. Get a real drink somewhere, Becky said. Same old Becky. When the new guest comes in, you have to look twice. It's Artie. Teenaged Artie. Long blonde curls in that 70s do. Wire frame glasses like you wore yourself back then. Cut off jean shorts and no shirt. Even dead, you're hot for his hairless chest. Last time you saw him was under that boardwalk. The sky so black the sea smell surrounding you. After your juvenile gropings, you both ran nude into the ocean, way out. You wouldn't believe that he couldn't swim. You laughed at him. Days later, they dragged him out like a blonde, bloated fish. His glass is still down there somewhere. Maybe a mermaid found them. These same glasses Artie's cleaning now as Harvey lectures him. The one-sided heart to heart, like the old days. When Harvey looks your way, Artie's supposed to roll his eyes, but he doesn't. Instead, he eyes you with hate. Like it's your fault he's here getting lectured. Your fault he's dead. I am too, you want to scream. But if you start screaming, you might not stop. How'd you get here? Becky asked, but you have no clue. Then, still with that asshole? Which one? Not this drowned teen who still eyes you like you're the scum of the earth, or wherever you are. He knows what happened, why you're here. You wouldn't stop laughing. You were his first and last. He wasn't sure how to please you. It was so new to him, finding the right spot on a girl. But it tickles, you said. So you'd stop laughing. He raced into the sea. Again, you see that anguished face, baby tears on 15-year-old cheeks, him scrambling to his feet before he changed his mind. He was determined to do it. You made him do it. Thanks to you, he drowned himself. You gasp. Now already swollen, seaweed stuck to wet gray skin. Like when they found him, the stench of stagnant water makes you reel. Dad, he says in this waterlogged voice, give Pam a drink. Nah, I got this round. Becky's voice sounds strange too. But Harvey is gone. I'll make it a double, comes from beneath the bar. Then that too big face. His dwarf slur makes you scream. You killed my son, he says, and that killed me. You scream till you're hoarse, till there's no voice left, there's no breath left. Becky's facial cavity is inches from you. Just bloody muscle, brain matter, part of one eye, and that totally pierced ear. Why'd you tell Butchie where I was, she gurgles, so you could have him? As she grips your wrist, you pee your pants. Even dead you have pants to pee. Thanks to you, he blew her face off. She's with this guy, he told the last stupid husband. Puerto Rican, chunky, mofongo they call him. Lightning flashed, but nothing could stop you. Hurrying down that storm-darkened street. Sucking face at this bar scratches at city line. He didn't believe you. He loved his wife, poor guy, but you kept at him. 'Cause you wanted him. Thunder cracked. Meet me there, you said, in 10 minutes. You never made it. Lightning struck your phone. From beneath the bar comes a rotted hand, clutching your drink. Blood-red punch with wormy things wriggling in it, and a cocktail cherry. Giggling, the dwarf drops in an extra cherry, 'cause I like you. Be glad somebody does, Becky says. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. That was amazing. Cindy Rosmus, thank you for being with us here tonight. Okay, next we're going to hear from Zvi Sesling, Brookline MA Poet Laureate 2017 to 2020. He's published poems and flash fiction and won international prizes. A 5-time Pushcart Prize nominee. His flash fiction books are Secret, Behind the Gate, and Wheels. His story, Chili Man, is Pushcart nominated. He and his wife, Susan J. Decter, live in Brookline, Mass. Zvi Sesling.
Thank you, Francine. And if I thought you hated me 2 months ago when you stuck me after Brad Rose, I'm convinced now that I have to follow Cindy. And Niles, too. Anyway, I played around with a couple of flash fiction stories that are very different from me, probably because I've been reading too much of Cindy's stuff. So I'm going to read these. The first one is called My College Failures. There I was my freshman year at Belleville College, where I dated Kathy, a senior at Broadlace High School. Never got to the Holy Grail. She graduated and went to some college in California, made her mark in porno flicks. A New Hampshire girl named Monica took a liking to me my sophomore year, but to be honest, she was as flat-chested as a 2x4, so while we were friends, that was about it. Of course, I had a crush on Lisa Kingley at the same time, but she had no interest in me, and as much as I tried to get her to go out, her friends would say she had no interest in me. As one told me, about the same interest she would have in an alien from Mars. Next on the list was Sabrina from an Arabic country whose brother was into race cars and Lear jet planes. She was interested in me, but said no sex until marriage, and even then we had to go by the Muslim rules. Naturally, I passed. Afterward, I found out she was smashing my best buddy. He married her and ended up being executed by her father, the sheikh, because he was caught with his sister-in-law. The sister-in-law had her long hair cut short, and she was given to a camel herder in another Arabic country. Then came Geneva. That was her name. She told me she had been conceived in the Swiss city and that her mother decided to name her that. Her father was a multimillionaire who owned a string of car dealerships in Scandinavia. Oh, by the way, did I say this was my junior year in college? Anyway, she also took a liking to me and would wear short skirts with no underwear, spread her legs for me to see. It turned me off. So she went after Clark. He married her, and when her father died, she inherited all his dealerships and money, and Clark is doing quite well. Dee Dee was next on the list. I'm about 6 feet tall, but Dee Dee was 6'2" or 3", so I would not go out with her, even when she asked me to. When she asked why, I really didn't have to reply, and I probably regret that the most. About this time, I met Theodora, Teddy, as she liked to be known. Teddy might have worked out, but one night, after working a few hours overtime, I found her in bed with Maxine. They invited me for a threesome, which I declined, and told Teddy to move out, to which Maxine invited her to move in. We would have made a great trio, Maxine said. Absolutely, Teddy added. Afraid not, I told him, as they left hand in hand. My senior dates were with Andrea, Eleanor, Ray May, Monarcha, and finally Anna. Now, Anna was special. Long hair like an Afghan hound, blue eyes like an Australian sheepdog, and skin so white, the color of a miniature French poodle. She even spoke 7 languages, of which I only understood one, English. Her measurements were like one of my favorite Hollywood actresses, Joy Lansing. Men always was staring or trying to pick her up, but she was a really loyal woman and ignored them. She said that while I was not the first man she had slept with, in fact, I think was 5th or 6th, I was her favorite. We definitely headed for the altar. However, it was during the Vietnam War. The government said it was a conflict. The press said it was a war, so war won out. Anyway, I got drafted, and when I shipped off to training camp, Anna came to see me off, tears in her eyes, her body pressed against mine. We kissed goodbye, and I was off on a military plane for some Army base in Oklahoma. Anna wrote a letter every day, and I responded 3 times a week when I had time. When I shipped out to Nam, however, her letters came once a week, then every couple of weeks, then once a month. Finally, they stopped. I was somewhat lucky as I was signed to an office in Saigon. I ate out a lot, and one night met Victoria, the name American soldiers had given her since no one could say her Vietnam name correctly. We had a year-long affair, as she probably did with other soldiers who had free time. It ended when I was sent back stateside. First thing I did when I got out of the service a couple of months later was head back home to look up Anna. She was married and 7 months pregnant. Not my kid, I thought happily. Okay, now we'll go on to, this one is called Fade Out in Waxahachie, Texas. And there really is such a place. I like the name. She had red hair to her shoulders, aquamarine for eyes, breasts pressed to her blouse, fighting to show themselves, yet failing to escape. Her smile revealed perfect whiteness, while her mouth, surrounded by red lipstick, emitted an accent that took in the whole of Texas with gentle kindness. The antique store owner said the building had been a bordello from 1879 to 1906. Milo, who was hunting for antiques, stood in the parlor behind a staircase that led to a display balcony. It was up there, she explained, where the prostitutes stood in red dresses, black garters, hinting at their wares. An archway to the right led to the private rooms. Milo looked over the antique glassware and furniture near the brass bed and red velvet. She moved from behind the counter and came next to him. How long in town, she asked. Maybe a couple hours, but in Dallas another week. You like the bed? Milo nodded and pictured himself in bed with the redhead. Only a week, she said. Her interest suddenly faded like old book covers. The moment passed, the opportunity giving way to thought to realization, and Milo knew it was time to move on. And my final one was actually in an online zine called Punk Noir that Cindy sent me to one time. And this month's theme was called Mother. So you had to write about your mother. And this is what I wrote. Mother. They always said my mother was different. But what if my mother was an alien? I mean, she looked like every other earthling with long blonde hair, dark brown eyes, and the kind of figure that made Earthmen turn their heads. However, she came from another planet. Seriously, there was a big to-do about a meteorite or comet or something landing in Montana 30 years ago. They found a few pieces of it and some paddle-like footprints. About the same time, a woman named Jenny Reardon was hiking north of Fishkill. When she returned, her husband said there was something different about her. Despite her being an alien, he got Mom pregnant, and 9 months later, I was born. Dad died shortly thereafter, and Mom became a single mother. I admired how she could do the work of 4 men and hunt for food like a native. She could also forage for herbs, mushrooms, and the like. We lived in our cabin. The school bus got me to school on time, but the day finally came when Mom died. She suddenly stopped eating dinner, looked at me, and began disintegrating. I saw a flash of green and then nothing. Thank you.
Wow. Oh, thank you so much, Zvi. And now someone has to follow you. So there you go. Zvi Sesling. I always like to think that every one of the readers is hard to follow, really. And
That's very true. I agree.
No matter where I put you, it would have been, and whoever's going after you is going to be hard to follow too. So having said that, I want to introduce Swetha Amit. She is an MFA graduate from the University of San Francisco, the author of a memoir, A Turbulent Mind, and 3 chapbooks. Her words appear in Head, Bending Genres, Ghost Parachute, Gone Long, Cream City Review, and others. A member of the Writer's Grotto, her stories have been nominated for the Pushcart Prize, Best of the Net, and Best Small Fiction. Swetha Amit.
Thank you, Francine, and such a pleasure to be here as always, and great reading, everyone. Really enjoyed listening to your pieces tonight. So today I'll be reading a piece that appeared in the August edition of Ghost Parachute, and I'm putting the link on the chat, and the piece is called Teacup. The dusty cup sat on the kitchen shelf, covered with cobwebs, in my childhood home in Santa Cruz, which was up for sale. I blew off the dust and picked it up, surprised to find it after several years had passed. The delicate porcelain was brimming with tiny cracks, the faded pattern of red roses was reduced to mere dots. I traced my fingers along the cracks where my memories of my late mother resided. Our shared laughter about random things, her stories about her ancestors, the gossip about the old lady next door, her golden advice during my moments of heartbreak, that devastating moment when dad left us for another woman, when I had turned just 12, 14 years after their marriage, her silent tears falling into the aromatic steamy cardamom teacup as she complained the tea had turned cold, salty, and bitter. The quiet companionship it provided her when she confined herself to her room as she battled bouts of melancholy, staring at the swirling misty clouds, listening to the pitter-patter of rain droplets pelting on our roof, seeping into the gap that developed in our relationship. The time when Ma would give one-word answers or blank silences whenever I tried to lure her into a conversation. The time when she mentioned with quivering lips that this teacup had begun to feel like a burden in her hands, which she said was a gift from her dad on their first anniversary. The time when she discarded it in a corner of the kitchen shelf, never to use it again. The time when she succumbed to a bout of rage, smashing bowls and plates onto the floor, or when I watched her once vibrant personality turn insipid. The time when she recovered and learned to embrace mundanity, watching the days pass with an expressionless face. As I left home to study in Berkeley, got married, and had kids, the time when I tried to find this teacup, I take it along with me, and when I couldn't see it anywhere on the kitchen shelves. Perhaps Ma had discarded it for good. Whenever I visited home, Ma would serve me tea in a coffee mug instead. I never dared ask her about the teacup, fearing I would ignite those painful memories. Until today, when I decided to visit for the last time to clear out any unwanted items, I was surprised to find a teacup after all these years, buried inside the dusty shelves, almost forgotten. I wonder why she never threw it away. Perhaps hoping Dad would return someday, which he never did. Now I stand there, holding the teacup, mulling over the irony of how an object that was once a steady presence became a burden. Those memories now fade like the scent that once rose from the aroma of cardamom tea. Thank you.
That's beautiful, Swetha. Your images are just gorgeous. And it was very touching. Okay, that was Swetha Amit. Thank you for being here with us tonight. Always lovely to see you, Swetha. Next, we're going to hear from Brad Rose. His latest book of prose poems is Four Words to That Effect. He is the author of 7 additional books of poetry and microfiction. His website is bradrosepoetry.com. Four Words to That Effect is available on Amazon. Brad Rose.
Thanks, Francine. I'm going to read, I think, 5 very short, moderately short pieces. They're each a paragraph long. First one is called Live Wires. On the other hand, when you're dead, you've got to wear something, preferably the perfect blend of comfort and performance. Of course, there's something very special about continuing to receive your paychecks, but maybe I'm just looking on the bright side. You know me, I'm someone who embraces my shortcomings by buying a pair of fun-colored stilts. Hey, where do you think all those red wires lead? Really? I was under the impression that in hell, even the eels had grown tired of electrocuting themselves. Cannibals. Cannibals aren't necessarily headhunters. There's a long apprenticeship. The basic equation is how much risk versus the kind of risk you'd like to take. Think of a bail bondsman. Sometimes the fund feels almost unconstitutional, although it's known to deliver a major mental reset. Be that as it may, there's just no explaining the drunken iguana. I'm going to phone myself just to be on the safe side. If someone ugly answers, I'll hang up. Tickle. I wouldn't be caught dead impersonating a cadaver. It makes me wonder, though, how long I'd have to be sorry. By the way, which side of gravity are you on? Terrific. I hear that's no longer the leading cause of death, at least among parachutists. I guess I'm fundamentally a problem solver, although some people seem to think that's just a smokescreen for my habit of fighting fire with arson. For dinner tonight, I'm going to be currying favor and binge watching robot TV so that I can keep up with the Joneses. I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of living paycheck to paycheck. It's like a camera taking a picture of a camera. Say, did you know that rats laugh when you tickle them? Yeah, they have a great sense of humor, too. Here, grab this big gray one. See for yourself. More complicated. Bought an imaginary island in the Caribbean. Paid cash. I love inanimate objects. Don't judge me. I'm bulking up my resume. If all goes according to plan, pretty soon there'll be no more sewing crisscross stitches in a two-fisted zigzag factory for this errant bon vivant. How about that sulky pep rally last week? Wasn't that something? Of course, it's easy to lose a lot of weight during a fast food riot, but I had no idea it would have such an impact on my net worth. Some people think it's made my face look like a pudgy stick figure, although like cosmetic surgery, that's merely a product of natural selection. Fortunately, as a beneficiary of my unhealthy wellness journey, I've grown as a person. I guess everything's a lot more complicated than it looks. Torch. I seek to associate exclusively with members of the opposite species. Obviously, this experiment must be approached with as much caution as one's attendance at the senior prom. In the interim, I'll be climbing Mount Empty Calorie donut by donut. Given my natural predilection for measuring in light years my daily food intake, I should have this mastered in a matter of minutes. Despite recent allegations about my being a delusional troublemaker, I can assure you I see tentative signs of reality on the horizon. These have caused me to abandon any hopes of showcasing my recent glamification, but at least it's the dawn of arson season, and I can soon begin fighting fire with fire. As Isaac Newton pointed out, there's no blaze without smoke, so it's useless for me to hang around here cooling my heels and fanning my face. I'll get down to some real monkey business just as soon as I get this damn thing lit. And the last piece is called Axe. That shark was a big surprise, wasn't it? Fortunately, it didn't break the windshield. At least I've had my rabies vaccination. The only symptoms I've had so far is some tingling in my skull. Hey, what do you feel is the best place for birds to be? Of course, that's only a supposition. I say you've just got to be sure not to squeeze too tightly. Besides, it's 10 times easier if you use an axe. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Brad, you never disappoint. It's Brad Rose. I
Thank you.
loved Mount Empty Calorie. I've climbed that one a few times myself.
Yeah, me too.
Well, thank you for your always wonderful reading, Brad Rose. Thank you for being here with us tonight. And our final reader is Andrea Marcusa, and her writings have appeared in the Gettysburg Review, Moon City Review, Milk Candy Review, Citron Review, and others. She's received recognition in a range of competitions, including Smoke Long, Best Microfiction in Cleaver, and is the author of the chapbook What We Now Live With, Bottle Cap Press. She's a member of the faculty of the Writers Studio in New York City. Andrea Marcusa.
Well, Brad, I get to go after you, but I also get to go after everybody. So I feel like that the person in the relay race, it's like, okay, which strategy should I use? Should I read the story or should I read the sort of prose poem? So I don't know which to do. So raise of hands, story or prose poem?
How long is the story?
Okay, everybody wants the story. This is
How long is it?
One
How long
is
is it?
they're both the same length, about
Like
800. One
okay.
is called, okay, one is called How I Got Through the Week of September 8th, 2025. That's the prose poem. And it's kind of like a bookend because it really is a bookend to what you wrote about, Francine. So maybe I'll just end with that because I was thinking maybe it's like too depressing, but we'll see. How I Got Through the Week of September 8th, 2025. Think back to before the towers fell, before fear convinced you the ice cream truck on 86th Street was an FBI stakeout. Go back before the years of lockdown and COVID, the masks, the hospital tent in Central Park, the cooling trailers for corpses. Remember back to life before 2001, to playgrounds with two little boys and the way their joy lit their faces. Remember pizza parties and those silly paper hats you made. Remember the time you cut 100 yellow stars and pasted them to 2 navy shower curtains that turned your foyer into a planetarium. Remember how the stars in their eyes outglowed the ones on the walls. Forget blue states and red states. Forget Alligator Alley and doxing. Remember the feel of wet sand on your feet as you watched your children build castles and dams. Forget the border wall, the clips of young men, not much older than children, flung to the ground, tased and cuffs. Forget tariffs. Forget violence that seems to erupt out of thin air. Forget AK-47s and hunting rifles and scopes. Forget knives. Instead, remember Beanie Babies and Happy Meals on Saturdays and riding the subway shuttle back and forth between Grand Central and Times Square because your boys love trains. Remember those parties with your husband, the tiny lamb chops, perfectly cooked, and the wine and water glasses discreetly filled, how your husband always turned heads in a tux. Remember the time when your only worries were homework and back-to-school haircuts and the next chapter of Charlotte's Web. Forget the California fires, Paradise, the Palisades, when lives and homes were turned to ash, the sky grew dark, and the sun the color of blood. Instead, picture your mother's garden, the pink roses growing along the split rail fence, and the soft, gentle sweetness of their fragrance in the warm summer breeze. Remember her daffodils and lilacs. Don't think about the wildflowers you arranged with your sisters for your father's funeral reception. Instead, remember that cold January day when your father and you, while your mother and sister waited in the warm car, ran through the icy wind to the water's edge to touch the Pacific Ocean. Don't think about tucking your mother's urn of ashes under your airplane seat, the way it touched your foot all the way from San Francisco as you flew east to bury her next to your father. Forget AI and cell phones and texts disturbing your thoughts. Listen to the sparrows and finches singing and the city's muffled August hum. Remember the luxury of believing in decades still to come, not the sand in the hourglass whispering that you're growing old. Think back to the warm weight of your infant son how his body sank to sleep on your chest, wrapped in the quiet of trust, and how this connected you to something far greater than yourself. Imagine holding his tiny foot in your palm, his fingers curled around yours. Don't dwell on today's short, perfunctory calls filled with good intentions, but never enough time. You're back waving goodbye to your parents as they stood in their driveway watching you and your husband and boys head home, and you're absorbing the love and joy that fills the little sedan. Remember telling yourself to take a mental snapshot of the moment because you knew you were pulling away from this time in your life every hour, every minute, like a lone skater gliding across spring ice, the world ready to crack open and swallow you. Don't think about where you'll live or how you'll survive if your husband dies before you. Remember your mother's voice, that life always brings sweet and sour, and that somehow everyone finds a way through. Think of the cardinal in Central Park that seems to alight on a nearby branch whenever you need your mother the most. Remember the pennies you spot on sidewalks when you're missing your father, and how your mother used to say that coins are from people who love you, who have died. Go back to that time when the only thing that separated you was the miles between your husband's business meeting and home, and the flat of the ocean that sometimes appears between sets of waves. That calm sea you waded in until a perfect curl appeared, and you and your kids rode its crest all the way to shore.
Stunning, really. Yeah. Thank you, Andrea. It was really amazing.
I'm almost crying reading that
Yeah, beautiful piece.
this week. Oh gosh, yeah.
So, well, thank you so much. And thank you for all your help tonight, Andrea. Andrea
Yes.
Marcusa.
Do you think we could add out that little section?
Oh, no, I started the recording over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I wanted to thank all of you, all the readers from tonight. Gorgeous readings, everybody. Hugh Behm-Steinberg, Kalliopy Paleos, Nancy Ludmerer, Niles Reddick, Sydney Rosmus, Zvi Sesling, Swetha Amit, Brad Rose, and Andrea Marcusa. Thank you all for being here. You certainly lit up my night. And this will be recorded. It'll be up on YouTube in the next day or so, maybe later. Anyway, thank you everybody for being here. And I'm Francine Witte, and this is FBOMB Global Flash Reading. And thank you so much, and drive safely. Good night.
Thank you, Francine.
Thank you, Francine.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Francine.
Francine.
Thank you,
That was
Francine.
great.
Thank
Good
you.
to see everyone.